Hi all, I'm going to be doing a demonstration on how I colour primroses. Now there is a sample in this book that I'm using, but I tend to just use it for the colour and colours to choose and a little bit on the light, because the samples are actually painted and not done with colouring pencils. So you're not going to get the same effect. I'll be doing this in parts because otherwise it's going to be a long thing to be watching, so I will only do it in parts. And I'm going to first go through my process of how I start a project, and hopefully it'll give other people ideas on how they can do this as well. It doesn't really matter what kind of pencils you're using to do your colouring projects. I just happen to be using Marco Refine because I find those a nice pencil to use, and I've been using for quite a long time now. I'm going to use this picture as a guideline for the colours, which I've already picked out. But first I want to have a little look at where my light is coming from. So I'm going to attempt shading. So I feel that the light could be coming from this direction. So see the sunlight here, and it's coming across the plant this way. So I'm going to put a little pencil mark with an arrow, and hopefully that will remind me of where my light is coming from. Comes to the colours, I've decided on as close as I can to the example picture. So I'm going with lilacs, purple, and for shading I'm going to go for a brown, just to try and get a darker look for shadows. And I tend to check those out first before I start to see how they're going to look. If they complement each other quite well, they're going to blend together. Yeah, and that brown will darken it in quite nicely without it being muddy. I'm going to start with the petals on these flowers. I'll start with this top flower here in this corner. Now that flower is facing, the back is facing the light, so because its front is not facing the light, it's going to be mostly in shadow, this petal, this flower, and this part here is going to be even darker. However, I'm still going to use my lightest pencil first for the purple. I can always go darker rather than go dark first. It's difficult to do that otherwise. I tend to use light pressure. Now this part in the middle is a light yellow, so I'm only going to go so far down with this flower. Doing light pressure like this does mean that you take quite a long time to complete a project because you need more layers. I'm not very precise for my first layer, and I tend to just put them in lightly. Gives me an idea where my light and dark is going to be. And as for the middle parts, these are going to be yellow and dark yellow. I'll use a little bit of brown. I'm going to do that yellow part as well now, so that I know where my yellow is and I don't go over it. I just see this as mapping out where my sections are for the colour. The first layer is just mapping it out. It's not too precise. Now this part here, I don't believe you'll see, doesn't show you any kind of yellow bit there for the middle, so I'm going to leave that all purple. Put my base light colour down for the purple. I'm deciding to now go in and do a little bit of shading with my next darkest colour. And again, I just look at this as a slight reference. However, because you light source, these parts here will be slightly darker, so I'm going to put my next darkest shade of purple at this point. I tend to use circular motion for me layers at this now, so that they'll blend in later on easier. I'll do the same for this one. Same again. And I'm doing it like this because I feel that the closer the top of these petals get to the sun, the lighter they're going to be. There we go. Very relaxing, isn't it, to colour in? Take your time. Kind of like the challenge as well, to be able to try shading and dark and light sections. Now this part here I feel would be a lot darker, so I'm going to go from right from the edge to nearly the end of the petal in the darker shade of purple. Now these parts of the petals, I think there would be a slight shadow because they overlap each other. So I'm going to put a little bit of dark there as well, darker shade, for the overlapping effect. And come round here and it'll be there because of the way it's drawn. The overlapping there. I'll darken in the yellow later on the same way, but obviously in a darker yellow. Now then I'm going to go with my brown now to darken in a little bit more. Because it's already in dark purple, the shadow here will now be show up with the brown. It shows up a bit better with the brown. Now I haven't connected the yellow and the purple at this point. You can see, I can see there's a lighter band where I've not coloured over. So I'm going to feather the yellow into that purple. And just lightly overlapping the purple and the yellow. There now is the first layer, very light. You won't be able to see much in the way of colour, but it's just an idea now. You know where your highlights and your shadow is going to be, and you continue to add on the layers at this point. While I'm here, I'm just going to put in the shadow for the yellow parts, in the middle, like we did with the purple, overlapping, because those petals will overlap. I'll go in later on and do it in brown. Also, these parts here will also be in shadow, the corners. And this part here, where the plant will also be in shadow because it's furthest away. Now I will colour in 1 or 2 more layers to show you the progress of that in the same way I've just done the other layers. I've continued and repeated that process with the purple and the brown and the lilac. There's about 3 layers on that petal now, and for the yellow section I also repeated the shadow process, overlapping with a darker shade of yellow, these overlapping sections. I've also included a bit of shading in these corner sections, as there's also overlapping there. At this stage you can start to see how the flower is progressing, and at this point I'm going to add a little bit darker shading, and that's with the brown, and I'm going to just use the brown to shade the overlapping sections of the petal over the purple. Just a little bit, just to darken it slightly bit more. Again, I'm just using light pressure. A bit more brown on these darker petals. And it's darkened it in a little bit more. A bit more shadow. I'm going to go over the darker purple section and also overlap the brown I've just put down. Again, just lightly, just building up the layers. If I feel at this point there's the darker needs to be feathered out more, I'll do that. Over all of that brown. Now I'm going to see how it works with the blending in, see if I need any more layers, by going over all of the purple in the lighter shade of purple that I have, and see how that works. At this point, after this, I'll be able to decide if it needs to be blended with a pencil blending pencil, or if I need any more layers. And it's personal choice. I mean, you can put as many layers down as you wish. I'll put a little bit more pressure at this point, not a lot, but maybe medium pressure to blend in slightly. I like the smooth effect I get with these pencils. It's a nice shine. Probably don't see that on camera, but it is quite nice in the light. Now that's looking quite nice. Now at this point it's personal choice. If you want to go any further with your layering on this petal with the purple, I will do another more 2 or 3 layers for the lighter section. I'm now going to try and do a layer of blending using a white pencil. I'm going to do this lightly, so that if I feel it needs more layers, I can add more layers. If you press on too hard, you will burnish the project and you won't be able to add any more layers. So I'm going to be doing this from the light through the yellow, through the purple to the lighter purple. And just do it lightly. Smooths it out a little bit, pushes the colour around, and fills in some of the white sections so it doesn't look quite so patchy close up. Again, blending is a personal choice. You don't have to blend. You can leave it with the texture and that's fine. Go from the lighter through to the darker so that the purple isn't coming into the yellows quite so much. You'll be able to tell at this point if you've got enough pigment on the page as well to be able to blend. If there's not enough on the page, it won't blend very well. Find a minimum of 4 layers at least to try and do some kind of blending. After that, you know, it's fine. Now I think I would like to add another couple of layers onto that flower and then it'll be finished. I added another 2 layers for all the colours on this section And again, I went over it with my white pencil, but this time I pressed on quite hard to do the burnishing because I feel that it's then finished. Once you do burnish quite hard, you can't add any more colour. Now the shadowing and the shading on this I did quite subtle because I wanted to keep it subtle. So it's not as dark in the shading as I would normally do. I think it works quite well for that. So the next part I will continue and I'll do a flower from the face, and one of these face and flowers for the next part of this tutorial.